What is the market telling me this week? What's up, super investors? Welcome to the Nick Rutherford Report. And every investor loses money, but a super investor makes more money than they lose by watching the market. So hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, leave me a comment, because this is the place to be for the financial news that matters for your net worth. Let's get to it. We've got news articles like this. The everything bubble suddenly feels unstable. And I can tell the mood of every investor is a little worried. I know people who say they're pulling back. They're putting themselves into cash more and more. Why? Because they're a little worried. But the super investor doesn't get worried. He doesn't get excited. He looks at the data. Let's look at the data. Here's the data. Moody's seasonal BA corporate yield relative to the 10-year Treasury. This just means, is there stress in the credit market? Are people at the big banks, are the insiders who know what's going on, are they worried? Looks like they're less worried than they've ever been before. You can see that the credit spread, measuring the credit as far as the spread between the yield on, like, this particular one is BAA corporate bond and Treasury, so something that could go bankrupt versus something that couldn't. Well, it's at one of the lowest levels ever, so no one's worried. Now, of course, no one's worried before everyone starts to get worried, and then there's a big problem. But until the data changes, I'm not going to be worried. And right now, the data is not changed. It's down. We're at some of the lowest levels ever. One of the other things, we've got articles like this. Recovery still fragile. Chinese bonds hit record lows despite surprising GDP growth or beat. I'm not too worried about it. People look at these things. I think that all of these type of articles are just designed to whip up investors' emotions. The super investor looks at the data. He doesn't look at the articles. We're just looking at the articles to see what the trend is and then see if it checks to the data. It's really a signal. So, if we have such a strong economy, why are so many Americans struggling? This is very obvious. We've got things like Dollar General making new lows, while things like Amazon and Google make new highs. Because there's two economies. There's the economy that is not digital. It's not in the digital transformation. It's not part of AI. And there's the economy serving the low and middle income consumers. It's been getting hammered by inflation. The super investor watches these themes and invests in the themes that are going to make them money. Where are things growing? Where aren't they growing? Where are things doing well? Where are they struggling? They find good, durable trends and invest in them. See, we've got very interesting things coming out. From a place of joy, short seller Nathan Anderson will wind down Hindenburg Research after 7 years. Why is this so important? I love looking at anecdotal signals like this because the super investor looks at signals from the market to try to figure out what's happening. And what's happening is, well, this famous short seller is throwing in the towel. Maybe he doesn't have anything else to short. I'm not really sure. But this sounds very reminiscent to me of like 20 years ago during the dot-com run-up when value investors who were incredibly famous, I'm forgetting him off the top of my head, but there was a famous value investor who closed up shop literally at the peak of the market. So if short sellers are throwing in the towel, well, a super investor has to ask himself, are we getting near the top? So this is very important. Now, I want to look quickly at the earnings. So why am I looking at the earnings here? Well, we've got some big companies like Truist Financial Corporation. All of these. I don't really care what they are. My only point is to quickly look. Look at the EPS estimate and look at the reported. And you can see we've got 3% beat, 2% beat. Oh, this company, Fastnow, didn't beat, but they didn't lose a lot of money either, down 3%. The next one, 6%, 9%, 6%. So you can see these companies are making money. If these companies are beating and making money, are we having a recession? Is it time to freak out? I don't think so. Not quite yet. So let's go over to the market to look at the market because the market is one of the most important signals. Does this look like a market that's in a downtrend? This is the S&P 500. Let's look at over the last year. Looks to me like the trend is intact. So until I'm seeing lower lows, then I'm going to be worried. But if I'm looking at this, right now it almost looks like we're turning back up. Of course, we're going to have to watch this over the next days, weeks, and see what's happening, because if the data comes in bad, well, it could start to go down, or people could just continue to sell off, and this could become a big correction, or the correction could already be over. I don't know, but I'm going to look at the market to tell me what to do, and right now it looks like it might go back up. We'll have to see if it rolls over. Not sure yet. Very cautious. Let's quickly look at gold. To me, it looks like gold is consolidating. Right now, we're breaking above these past two peaks from December 11th and November 22nd. So if it breaks decisively above this, the momentum will look like it's going up. Now, I don't need crazy technical, fancy computer algorithms or anything to look at this chart and just kind of see what direction it's going. Because if I get too many signals, I'm going to get confused and they're just going to be counter signals. So we just want to look at the market, determine the direction, and see if the data backs it up, because then the super investor knows what to do. Let's go over to Bitcoin. Bitcoin looks like it's going back up. Look at this. We're breaking slightly above wherever this last peak was here, January 7th. So if this decisively breaks above the all-time high, I can say, well, the bull market is still intact. But if we start getting lower lows instead of higher highs, well, that's a pretty clear signal of what's going on. And that takes me over to the most important thing that I'm going to look at every day, and that's the ultimate leader. Because the leader is going to lead the market. And a super investor knows that if the leader's strong, eventually the market is going to continue to be stronger. But if the leader breaks down, then things are going to be in a big problem. And NVIDIA is the leader in all things AI. AI is driving all of the revenue in the biggest companies. It's driving the excitement. It's driving the animal spirits. And so goes all that. So goes the market. So if I look at this, it looks like it's consolidating right now. If it rolls over and starts to create lower lows, then I'm going to think the trend has changed. But right now, it really looks like we're in a consolidation. And to me, that's just the market telling me it doesn't know which way to go, because we've got a lot of risks on the horizon, like the new administration coming in, changing things, changing up the way the government spends, because if that comes out, that's one of the biggest risks, because one person's income is another person's spending. So if the government's spending money, that's someone's income. They spend more money. Well, corporations make money, and then profits go up. So let's quickly talk about what's next. Well, what could happen next? The data could come in bad, or the data comes in flat or positive. If it comes in bad, then we know that the recession is starting. If the data comes in flat or positive, we know that it's not coming in yet. So I'm staying very flexible and I'm watching it very closely. And I have two strategies. My bearish strategy, once I see the market and the data come in negative, is going to be to raise cash. Invest in things like short-term T-bills, maybe even some put options or managed futures. Now, and what about my bullish strategy? It's really simple. Invest in good companies at good prices that are growing within a durable trend. That's what I'm doing right now until I see the market and the data change. Next, what's the number one stock to buy right now? Click on my bio, follow me, and follow the link to RutherfordWealthReport.com, and I'll share my latest research with you.